Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 11 of Carole and Tuesday. So, last time we had more of the competition, but I think the big stuff came near the end. Because Tuesday was attacked. Carole and Tuesday were trying to find each other, and Tuesday went back to the dressing room. While in there, she found a gift labeled for her because her birthday and everything. But when she opened it, we didn't actually see the act of her opening it. We heard a scream. And when Carole got to the room, we saw that Tuesday was clutching her hand, shaking, clearly in pain and upset. Yeah, just shit had gone bad. The gift box was smoking everywhere. And my theory is that it was Sabelle, because Sabelle had been clearly acting stalkerish towards Tuesday, and when Tuesday eventually rejected her advances, Sabelle seemed to be visibly upset by it. And it's like, I hated Sabelle, like, just from the entire biting to mark territory bullshit. But this, it's like, holy shit, it's like, she needs to be arrested. Like, if this was her, I assume it was. Who else would it be at this point? But this is bad for another reason as well, because of the competition. Because Carole and Tuesday still have to take on Piotr to continue on through. And with Tuesday in this kind of condition and everything, not even just the idea that she might be injured, but the condition of just having that happen to her, she's probably just like kind of messed up right now. So you gotta view it like it's kind of a big disadvantage. Now, I was talking about last time how there's maybe the possibility of them postponing things while this was looked into because of how big a deal this was, a direct attack on one of the contestants. I don't know if that's going to happen, but honestly, just logically speaking, I think it should. Because, again, it's like we had a legitimate attack on one of the contestants. That's something to stop the show for a bit. We also know that DJ Erdogan is one of the judges, but I doubt he would do anything like that. I mean, he was definitely surprised and everything when he saw that they were contestants. But even despite what happened between them and all, I don't think Erdogan would do something like that. It just doesn't seem like he would go that far. And so, yeah, I don't think that's going to come into... It's going to come into play where he's going to have anything to do with it. I think it's Sabelle. But yeah, basically, Carole and Tuesday have to win this in order to face off against Angela, which, as you know, I've been predicting was going to be how this ends. That they were going to have to face off against Angela in the finals, and that they would probably lose at that point. Which I'd be fine with, because I think it would actually even make sense for their characters and the progression of the story. But now I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to make it to the finals because of this. I just wonder where this is all going to go at this point, because there's a lot to think about with this. But we'll figure that out as we go. So either way, let us get this going. Let us just see what this episode has in store for us and how we're going to continue on. Oh, excuse me. So that being said, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the links to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So there's really 3 things to talk about with this episode. First, the competition, the semifinal performance. Carole Tuesday's song here was one that they had a hard time figuring out how to put the guitar part into. They had only figured out the keyboard and the singing. And so they decided to go with that since Carole's hand was too burned to be able to hold and play the guitar. And it was a good song. As the judges put it, basically, it was very emotional and very, how do I put it? Very, you know what I mean. It was very emotional and very powerful, let's put it that way, I guess. And like the one judge said, it kind of got through a lot of emotions. It went through a lot of emotions and portrayed them perfectly. And it's kind of the only reason they won, because their song did more for the judges in terms of, like, just displaying that raw emotion. And Piotr was completely cool with it. Like, Piotr even said that they moved him too, which is great. I love it when we can see contestants go out being very respectful. It's the same way with, like, real life competition shows. We even saw it with that CG girl or whatever her name was, or GK or something. I don't know. We saw it with her when Angela beat her. She was very respectful about it, and now we're seeing it again. It's not like with the Mermaid sisters, who kind of had a little bit of a freak out. I'm glad that we're getting situations and cases where we have these contestants who are all cool when their opponents beat them. It's cool to see that. So yeah, the song, like I said, wasn't their best. It definitely wasn't, but it was still good. So I can't complain. The second thing I want to talk about is the confirmation. So we got confirmation that Sibel was the one who did this. Sibel was the one who planted the package in Carole and Tuesday's dressing room, causing Tuesday's hand to be burned. And it's like, I kind of knew it was, like, it was a little obvious based on everything we've been shown and all. But it's like, it's so fucked up. And then afterwards, when they see her being taken away and everything, she doesn't even try to deny it. She's bragging about it almost. It's like, oh, you broke my heart, so you deserve this. It's like, fuck off. Fuck off. Get your head out of your self-important ass and fuck right on out of here. You are not like some kind of goddess who is entitled to Tuesday. She is a human being, and she deserves respect as such. You were acting as if she was property for you. You were acting as if you were entitled to her. And that's fucked up. I have no sympathy for Sibel at all. Sibel is a psychopath, an asshole, a bitch. And I'm very glad that she's been arrested. She can rot for all I care. And I'm not even just saying this, I want to make clear, not just because Tuesday is my favorite character in this series right now. I am not just saying that because of that. It wouldn't matter who this was against. If Sibel did this to Carole, to Angela, to anyone, I would be the same, because that is fucking disgusting. That is putrid and horrible. You don't do shit like that. The worst part is that there are people like this in real life. People like this do exist who think that they're entitled to other people. And when turned down, they feel like that instead of like reflecting on themselves and seeing that they were wrong for acting like these people are property for them to own, they snap. People have killed others in this kind of situation, and it's horrifying. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not by any means saying that like the show is wrong for portraying this. In fact, hell, I say the complete opposite. I think it's good for the show to portray this. Because even though this series takes place in like a distant future kind of thing, it's still good to see that kind of realistic situation pop up. And it's good for media to portray this as well, because it gets it out there to people that this kind of shit does happen. And it's not sugarcoating it either. That burn, it showed Carole or Tuesday's burn, and it was nasty. It did not sugarcoat this kind of attack at all. And I'm glad for that, because this shouldn't be sugarcoated. If they're going to show this, they need to show it in all of its detail. And I think that they succeeded at that. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. I think that this was actually a smart move for them to have that kind of character in here. To have that kind of situation. It's bold. It's risky. A lot of shows wouldn't do it. But I'm glad that this one did. And then there's the third thing I really want to go into. Tuesday's kidnapping. So, some goons, I guess you could call them, have been sent to pick up Tuesday by pretty much what we can tell any means necessary. Which means that her mom, Valerie Simmons, probably has either been watching the show or has at least heard about it. I doubt Tuesday's brother had anything to do with this, because he just straight up let her go. He just straight up walked away from capturing her. Quote. So it had to have been Valerie herself who sent these goons. And yeah, pretty much by any means necessary. Now, some people would kind of bring up the argument like, oh, is it really kidnapping? She's 17, so she's technically under her mother's thumb still, if you want to put it that way. And yes, I get that. As a minor still, she technically does have to, at least in accordance with current modern day laws here in the real world where I live, she has to, be with a parent or guardian. She has to just have that living situation, basically. And clearly, I think it's kind of assuming that, because it's almost doubtful that if it was not the case, if Tuesday were able to live on her own or something, that that Valerie would risk something like this. Because if it were something else, if Tuesday could just leave at any time and live on her own, then Valerie sending those goons to kidnap her could be very well twisted against her and ruin her political aspirations. And I doubt she's dumb enough to let that happen, so. Yeah, because Carole and the others could very easily claim kidnapping, basically. The only thing is, I think Carole overheard what was going on. Cause I think Carole overheard about the mother, so they could, find that out. And Carole knows who Tuesday's mom is, because Tuesday told her and all. So yeah, This part bothers me too, though, because even though technically the law is, at least again, according to like current day law here in the real world, where I live specifically, I guess, the law would be more on the mother's side. It wouldn't be seen as a kidnapping, but rather picking your child up after she ran away. Um, but while it would definitely be more in, like, again, it would be more in accordance with the law, it's scummy as fuck. Because you know that the only reason Valerie sent those goons to get her and all was because she doesn't want her political aspirations fucked up. Tuesday even said it in this episode that that's no home for her. And it's been implied throughout this entire series so far that her mother doesn't really care about her. That her mother basically just sees her as, well, basically an object. An object to control. And in that way, it's kind of like the entire thing with Sibel, but in a different context and all. Because Sibel saw Tuesday as an object, but more as an object for her to own, for her to, like, you know, be with, basically. More of a romantic / possibly sexual object. While her mother sees her more as a leverage kind of thing. Sees her as something that will overall help her with her aspirations and goals. So it's a different kind of thing here, but both angles to that kind of have these people seeing Tuesday as an object. But then we do have the contrast in this series with Carole and also with Roddy and Gus. Carole, Roddy, and Gus see Tuesday as a person, see her as someone who needs love, who needs just to be shown that people can care about her. And Carole wants her to be the best she can be. So she's even giving her advice, telling her basically, you need to come out of your shell. You're letting this kind of stuff happen by not fighting back, by not speaking out, by being too complacent. And she's kind of right. It sounds mean, but she's kind of right. Tuesday does need to open up. She does need to become more assertive, to come out of her shell. She does. That's one of her big things. Tuesday is very non-confrontational, and I can relate. I'm very non-confrontational. But at the same time, I do know when I have to speak up for myself. And I really hope Tuesday learns as well. Now, as for where this is going to go with her mother's goons taking her, I'm not sure. Again, Carole knows who Valerie is. So they could probably go and try to get Tuesday back. But the problem is, again, the law would probably be on Valerie's side. And not even from like just a perspective of, oh, she might have paid them off. No. Just from a perspective of legality speaking. So the thing would be is that Tuesday and possibly Carole and the others would have to convince Valerie to let her go. To let her do this. And I don't know how they're going to do that. Now, I think there's like 24, 26 episodes in this series. And I thought this was going to come into play a little later down the line. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily going to be concluded yet, but I definitely am surprised that they're getting into the stuff with Valerie right now. I thought they were going to build up a little more to that. But again, it might only be like a first time going through all of that. That might be kind of the ongoing issue throughout the series, the ongoing, I guess you could say, antagonist. I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, what's going to happen with the competition? Because they've got a week, right? I think it's a week before the next show, basically, which kind of goes in line with the fact that Tuesday won't be able to play guitar for another week and all. And it's like, so they've got a week basically to rescue her, to get her back, and get her back to the competition and all. And the thing is, Angela wants a fair fight. We saw that very much in this episode. Angela does not want anything to happen to Carole and Tuesday. She wants to face them because she acknowledges their talent. So when this ended up happening to Tuesday, you saw Angela get upset and she started going after people. She went after her mother. She went after her manager. She went harsh. But she truly, I believe, truly did want to find out what happened. And yes, partially because she wants a fair fight, but I also think she does, to some extent, care. Angela's not like this heartless bitch. She actually does have a nice side to her. I just feel like she's almost afraid of showing it. Like she's not confident enough in it. Like she doesn't think it'll help her in her career and stuff. But you can clearly see like how seriously she took this situation. And yeah, she might have gone a little too far in blaming her manager and everything. But still, it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that Angela is that fair about things. So I'm thinking also Angela maybe could have the power to delay things a little bit as well. I mean, she is such a huge name. It'd basically be the equivalent of like Taylor Swift competing in America's Got Talent. We're just going to have to see where that goes. This show is phenomenal, though. It's like, even stuff like this, which I don't like just from a personal standpoint, it's done so well. It's executed so well that it still feels like so much effort and time and thought was put into it. And yes, I know Shinichiro Watanabe does that with his shows. Even stuff like Space Dandy felt like a lot was put into it. Like it wasn't just some random bullshit pulled together. Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, they feel like fully realized shows, even if I like them to varying degrees. And Carole and Tuesday is just following that trend. It is a very well-realized show that understands what it's trying to do. And because of that, it's able to focus on doing what it wants to do perfectly. And it's been succeeding. I mean, there's maybe a couple things that could have been done maybe a little better, sure. I can give you that. But all in all, it's been phenomenally handled. From the art and animation to the voice acting, the story and characters, the drama, the comedy, everything about it has been so well executed that it's almost hard to believe. I'll be honest, the past couple years of anime, while having some definitely good shows and stuff, have been mostly barren for me. Most of the shows that air each season seem to just not hit it for me, hit those notes. A lot of them tend to either just be kind of mediocre or even become mediocre over time. And again, there are plenty of exceptions, like the My Hero Academia series and whatnot. There are exceptions to that. I'm not saying every series by any means, but a lot of them have been like that. Most of them even, with just those few outliers. And so it's like, even though we're not getting a lot of shows to this quality, you could almost say that that's better, because it makes these shows stand out more. I just wish more people could see Carole and Tuesday at this point, because a lot of people won't watch, like, in this kind of fashion. They'll wait for it to be on Netflix. And unfortunately, because of that, they're going to miss a lot. They're going to miss a lot of the initial hype, and it's not going to be as exciting at that point. But I hope that when they do see it, they love it just as much. Now, speaking of that, since this is going to be on Netflix, I assume that it's going to have a dub. I'm just really curious about what the dub's going to end up being like. I'm sure they'll probably keep the music the same. Like, they'll just have the exact same clips and all for the music. I mean, why change that? But I'm curious to know, like, how they're going to cast all of that. Like, I could probably think of a few different voice actors who could play some of these characters, but I'm really curious as to how they're going to cast it. If they do, I mean, I think it's very highly likely, but you never know. Overall, this episode was another really fantastic episode. It did pretty much everything right. My only complaints about it are just personal complaints, just like, oh, I don't want to see that happen. I mean, the way they handled it and everything, phenomenal. I just don't want to see it happen, you know? I don't want to see Tuesday with her hand burned. I don't want to see her get kidnapped by her mother's goons. I don't want to see Carole kneeling there on the ground crying over not being able to protect Tuesday, which, by the way, is extremely heartbreaking. And not even being able to give her her birthday present and all either. It's like, I don't want to see that stuff necessarily, but I like that I am. You know what I mean? And that's great. That's fantastic. So, yeah, I thought this was another fantastic episode of this series. I thought it really did what it needed to and succeeded at it. So, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Carole and Tuesday, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,